Okay, guys, we're going to be moving on today to another way to solve a triangle. So we learned the law of sines already. We're now going to get into the law of cosines. You're only ever going to have to do the law of cosines one time. So it's not like the law of sines where you have to do it twice. You'll do the law of cosines one time, and then you'll then go back to the law of sines. So here's my scenario. I gave you little a is 31, little b is 28, and angle C is 62. I couldn't use the law of sines here if I wanted to because I don't know an angle and the opposite side. Remember, to do the law of sines, you have to know big A and little a, which I don't have, big B and little b, which I don't have, or big C and little c, which I don't have. So this will be the scenario for the law of cosines. If we were in a geometry class, I'd be telling you that one of the scenarios is when you have side, angle, side. But just ultimately, when you go to do these, look at it and see whether or not you can do law of sines first. If you can't, it's automatically law of cosines. Okay, so here's the formula for law of cosines. You're not going to like this because it's not as easy as the law of sines. It is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc all times the cosine of angle A. Okay, so a couple things about this formula. First of all, there's only one angle in the entire formula. If you look at it, that's a side, 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 side. Big angle A is obviously an angle. You don't have angle A in this problem, and that's going to be a problem. You have angle C. So what you guys are going to have to be able to do is, I'll give you this formula. I don't expect you to memorize this formula, but I'm only ever going to give you this exact formula. This is the formula that would be if you had angle A. So you guys are going to have to be able to take formulas like this and write the other version of it. So in this case, I have angle C. I'm going to need to know the angle C version of this formula. So look at the formula closely because there's some real easy things that you can notice that'll help you rewrite it. Like I said, the formula only has one angle, angle A. What you also notice about A is it starts with A. So the formula will always start with the letter and end with the same letter. And then all the other letters are the other two letters, the other two sides. So if I start with A, I have to end with A. Everything else is B and C. If I wanted another version of this, I could do the B version of this, which would start with side B. It would end with the cosine of B. And then every other letter is going to be A and C. Your other two sides. So it starts and ends with the same letter, and then every other letter, the other two letters. So I need A and C. So I would just say A squared plus C squared minus 2AC, and that's the B version. That would be the formula you use if you had angle B. I don't have angle B. So now I'm going to go to angle C, and that's going to be the one I'm going to use. So if I'm going to have angle C, the formula is going to start with C and end with C. And every other letter is going to be A and B. So A squared plus B squared minus 2AB. Okay, these are your formulas. Again, I'll give you on a test or quiz, assuming it's one that you don't do at home, so probably not, but normally you would just be given this version. You would have to come up with the other two. Okay, so now let's start plugging some things in. There's going to be two different kind of ways we do types of problems for law of cosines. This one is going to be the easier one. So again, it is based on what angle you have. So I have angle C, so I'm going to be using this formula right here. Now you guys don't need to rewrite it or even write it, but I'm going to again. So here's the formula I'm going to be using. C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times the cosine of C. And now I'm just going to plug these three numbers in where they belong. Now little c is what I don't know. So that's what I'm going to be solving for in this case. So that's going to stay C. So this would be C squared equals A squared would be 31. So 31 squared plus B squared, 28 squared, minus 2 times A, which is 31, times B, which is 28, times the cosine of C, which is the cosine of 62. Okay, so this problem is going to be super easy to do. Like, this is the easier version. You're only ever going to have two unknowns, guys. Either you're going to be finding the number out in front, the letter out in front, or you're going to be finding the angle. Those will be your two unknowns. In this problem, we're looking for the letter that's out in front. That will be the easier version. When we have to find the angle, always a more difficult problem. All right, here's what I have. If I'm trying to solve for C, which I am, C is already by itself. So there's C squared. All I need to do is put all of this in my calculator. And I am literally going to put all of it in one shot. So don't break it into pieces. The other type of problem, you have to break into pieces. But don't like square 31. You don't need to do that. You can put this all in one shot, and that should be what C squared equals. So here we go. 31 squared plus 28 squared minus 2 times 31 times 28 times the cosine of 62. So literally that entire line is right here. It's written exactly the same way. If you want to use parentheses instead of putting times, it'll be the same thing. All right, now that is not your answer. That is C squared. So that would be what? 929.997367. Now, I don't even want you writing this. Like, don't write out all those decimals. And certainly don't round it. If you round it, you're going to get it wrong. What I need to do is, because that's C squared, if I want C, I'm just going to take the square root of both sides. So after you get this number in your calculator, just take the square root of it. So square root, and I'm going to recall this by hitting second answer. So that recalls that. And there's C, 30.5. 30.5. Okay, so now go up here, put 30.5 in. And now, if you notice what you have big C and little c, so now you'll do the law of sines. So at this point, you have to do the law of sines to find either angle A or angle B. Now, I want you to think for 2 seconds about what we said yesterday about the ambiguous case. The law of sines cannot get you an obtuse angle. It can't get you the quadrant 2 angle on your calculator. Now, you're not going to have to do the ambiguous case here because you've done the law of cosines first. The only time the ambiguous case ever comes into play is if you're doing the law of sines as the very first thing you did. And we didn't do that here. We did the law of cosines. But here's the problem. If I do the law of sines to find angle A, because angle A would be the biggest angle. If you look at your three sides, that's the biggest side, so that would be the biggest angle. If angle A were to be obtuse, and